Om Asatu Ma Sadgamaya Tamasu Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurmam Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, and from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace. The 3 Sunday lectures, the last Sundays, today's, and the one that is planned for next Sunday, these 3 really form one topic, and it is of the nature of practically reaching the goal. As I mentioned at the beginning last Sunday, that here we are assuming that we all want to reach the goal. We have at least vaguely identified the goal. I gave the example that we have decided to go to, say, Miami, Florida. Now how to go and actually going are those things that we have to think about. So the first thing that we saw during last class is exploring the connections, the goal and ourselves. We feel the gap, and as we saw, just a quick recapitulation of what we studied in the last class, or what we looked at, was this, that we have this difficulty, that there is in us a very deep sense of everything being one, and yet a very constant, unshakable perception of the shifting multiplicity. It is together with these our life is kind of woven, that we see multiplicity, we see many, we see I and the world, and we yet feel the sense that there is oneness. And to get to that oneness is the goal. The very fact that we can communicate, we can see, we can interact, shows that there is a common something amongst all these different, infinitely varied multiple things. It is like the multiplicity that we see on a movie screen, that so many different things are there, and yet they are connected together with the screen, which is one. So that screen is woven in and through every picture that we see, and that is what makes the movie possible. Otherwise it wouldn't be possible. We all are certainly, we feel that there is the distinctness. That is how we communicate, we feel that I and the world. But there is always the need to interact. And again, as we have seen, that it is impossible when we go to demarcate the separating line between I and world. We cannot draw a sharp, clear line as to where I ends and the world begins. And that is why we see that it is quite confusing. And therefore, this goal is this idea that we see that all our desires, they really show that connection, the links. We want things from the world. I, who has the desire, and the world, which has the capability of fulfilling those desires. We can see these two distinct things, like I am the eater and there is the food that I want to eat, the two distinct things. So, like that, all our desires, what do they suggest? They suggest that we want to absorb things from outside. It is like becoming one. That which is there and I who am getting it, we want to be one with it. We want to become one with the world. But we see all these actually different desires, they are like it is, we see that all these different connections are there. And these connections, we saw that all these various desires that we see, they combine together into what is we call God. And we aspire for God, and God is abstraction of all that we want. Let us put it like that, so that the question whether God is or God is not is taken out of the context now. That all that we seek, come on, let us put it in one box, and then let us label that as God. So, if we do not have any want, then we don't need God. And the God is for us because we want things. We want so many different things: protection, love, progeny, happiness, knowledge, peace. We had seen how all these affect us. And then we saw that these are the connections. How to connect this, our present level of being fractured and multiple, to the level of oneness, the God. How we can achieve our goal. And this has been mentioned that there are all our different faculties. These faculties are to be now directed towards this goal. Through knowledge, through love, through work, and through psychic control. And we saw that this is what is called the yoga. The yoga means to connect, to join, like the English word yoke. Yoke is actually derived from yoga, like horse being yoked to the cart and so forth. So, it is through knowledge that when it is done, it is called jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge. Or it can also be called as yoga of discernment. Then there is yoga through love. Then there is the yoga through work and yoga through control. They are called as like bhakti yoga, karma yoga, raja yoga. So these are different ways in which or through which we can join ourselves through to the reality. And in every religion you will find that these have been employed without using these names as such. The names are differently distinct, like devotion, discernment, and all that, dispassion. So many things, the same words are not used, but this is how the scheme is, to use whatever faculties we have to get connected to the ideal. And it is not that we can use just one of these. We need to use all of these. Maybe there are one or two people, amongst millions there could be one or two who need not have to use all four. These four really are our four different faculties, four different channels through which we interact with the world. One is our intellect. We want to know, we want to understand, but at the same time, we also have feelings, emotions. The third thing is we have the faculty of action. And the fourth is that of control, meditation, concentration. So all these faculties are to be used together. There is, of course, a difference. There is we all have different temperaments. Not two human beings are exactly identical. Some are more intellectual. Not that they completely are devoid of emotions, but their personality is more like thinking and then acting according to what they think rather than what they feel. The feeling part is somewhat subdued. There are others who have the feeling part more prominent in them. But that doesn't mean thinking is totally absent. They think as well, but their actions are more dominated by what they feel. There is another class who actually want not just feeling or thinking, but want to do something. The actions occupy major aspect of their life. They want to be active, doing something. And then there are those who are quite methodical. They want to experiment and find out. They are more of the scientific temperament. And then such people want to learn to control the mind and our body, mind, everything that we do. They want to put it under control and examine it. So, therefore, we have to understand that there is variety in temperament. Then there is the variety in intensity. Many times we understand the variety in temperament, but do not take into account the variety in intensity. Like somebody may have an intellectual temperament, but that doesn't mean that it is very sharp. It may be intellectual, but not of that level. The person wants to know, the person has the discerning ability, but it is not intense enough. It is there, but the intensity is low. The intensity is also because we do not really feel or want to reach the goal that expeditiously. It is like we want to, same example we can take, we want to go to Florida, but we'll go sometimes. It is not that I have to go now. That intensity is not that much. So, okay, yes, we will, sometimes we can go, I would like to go, but let's see, it doesn't really bother us that much. So, that is the part of intensity, that our emotions, our intellect, everybody doesn't have the same level of intensity as well. So therefore, there is the distinction on these different types, like the distinction in temperament and distinction in intensity. So accordingly now how they form connections will get decided. The connectedness will therefore, the method will therefore vary in each particular case. The types are there, but yet there is this separation or individual variety. It is therefore this principle of what is applicable to whom and the gradual evolution has to be taken up. The applicability means that whether a particular yoga is applicable or not to that person to that extent, like discernment. We like discernment and we all do it, what is right and what is not right. All human beings, we have that potential, that to decide what is right and what is not right. But then it is, we do not want to always guide our life by that. For example, our discerning ability may tell that this is not right, but then other thing takes over. It may not be right, this tells, but this tells that no, I like it though. And so we go then by what we like rather than what is right. So it is to what extent that principle of discernment is applicable to someone. If that person has predominantly emotional nature, then the discernment could be, of course, it still has to be done, but only discernment will not be able to make that person's life get changed. So there is this question of applicability. Secondly, how quickly that person can get into this mode of journeying towards the goal. Not everybody will be able to travel equally fast. Sometimes we forget this idea and feel that everybody must realize the goal right at this instant. Everybody cannot be Sri Ramakrishna or Buddha or Jesus. That it is, we have to go according to whatever baby steps we can take. Each person therefore will have a different speed. So that also is to be accepted. Nobody needs to be, condemned or denounced. Everybody is, that potential divinity is in everyone. Everyone is striving according to one's own capacity and temperament. So, while encouraging everybody to do better and better is excellent, yet we have to remember that there is a difference in temperament. It takes time for everybody to change. And expect that everybody should change and do things in this way only. But no. Some people will learn to do it quickly. Some people will take time to imbibe it and slowly will try to do it. Depends. So therefore this variety is to be understood. It is a gradual evolution for everyone in getting connected to the reality. And then we see that what is important here is that we do not have to buy the means. We do not really have to buy the ticket. We already are supplied with these means. The ticket is already bought for us for the journey. When we are born, the ticket is given to you that yes, here you have. The means are there. Only we have to now make them proper, perfected. This question comes in Taittiriya Upanishad in the third canto there. Actually, second chapter's third canto. That the disciple asked the question that how will I experience the ultimate knowledge? How can I know the all-pervading reality, the Brahman? That is the goal. About the goal, the question has been asked, how am I to realize the goal? And interestingly, the teacher tells that, chakshushrotram manovachamiti, that you have your sense organs, mind and all. The instruments are there with you. The means are there with you. What you need to do now? These three things. Direction. The means are to be directed properly. Second thing is then they have to be refined. There is the refinement of the means that is necessary. We have not used them properly for a long time, and therefore a lot of dust and all that has accumulated on it, and so is not usable. So we need to refine them. And third thing is strengthening them. They need to strengthen further so that they can take up the pressure of this long journey. And that is told there in one word, tapas, or austerity. That includes all these things. Swami Vivekananda, in his one very famous lecture, from which I have quoted here, I don't know how many times. The lecture is titled Work and Its Secret. And there Swami Vivekananda says that what we need is the refinement and strengthening of means. If we hold the means, the end must come. So that is the attention therefore should be on properly directing the means, refinement of them and strengthening of them. So this is, let us see now how all the four different avenues of connection that we have seen, how we can apply this idea of direction, refinement and strengthening to each of them, what it entails, let us see. So, let us first take the yoga of discernment of jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge. It is separating and weaning out, changing from the unchanging. This training has to be given to intellect. We have the intellect, but it gets wasted in many, many unnecessary things. We think about things which are really not going to have any beneficial, important effect or result for us. It is not going to help in this journey. So, direction. How the intellect is to be trained? Sri Ramakrishna used to say that, use that intellect to think what is permanent and what is impermanent. And then, once you know something is impermanent, take your mind away from it, as it means that it is not real, it is not going to last. So, get your attachment out of it. Weaning out the changing from the unchanging. It is like separating the grain and the husk. So, throw away the husk, keep the grain. So, that which is permanent, that which is enduring, keep that. Do not waste the intellect in some unnecessary pursuits. That is how we decide what is worth learning. I like that example by the French mathematician Henrik Poincaré. I don't know how it is pronounced, that word. It is a French word. He mentions in that book that there are infinitely many things that one can be busy learning. Whole life could be spent on any one topic of that. He gives as a funny example that one may spend the whole life in doing research about how many bed bugs are there in the world, and how many of them are male and how many are female. Come on. So, it is a really lifelong research work. But what is the use of doing it? Should we be interested in that? What can make us interested in that? So, there are so many topics of study, but we should therefore be choosing what is going to be the most beneficial for us. And a person who is interested in getting connected to the reality, therefore, should find out what is the criterion to judge what is real and what is unreal. And the criterion provided by the sages is this, that which is permanent and unchanging, that is real. That which changes continuously, that is not real. It is like how do we see in the movies? What is real there? That which changes is not real. Like the pictures that we see on the screen, they are not real. They appear there, but what is real? Screen is real. The screen is there irrespective of the changes of the picture. It always is the same. So, that is real. So, we see these things in the world. They keep on changing. The situations change, persons, our appearance changes, and so forth. It is, everything is subject to change, but something is there that does not change. So, our intellect has to be directed towards that, to locate, to hold on to that which does not change. Because we do not do that consistently, what happens, let us see, in our lives? That which is changing, we attribute a permanent value to it. Like we make this kind of a conclusion that that person is evil. What is the fact that that person has committed some actions which were, you could call them evil from your understanding? That person might have performed such actions. The conclusion should just stop there. But we take it further and then assign a permanent value to it, that that person is evil. That is not correct, because a person's nature changes. We have seen a person very nice and very compassionate, very moral in one situation, can act in a completely different way in certain other situations. So therefore, this is something that is changing, and so should not be assigned a permanent value. We cannot say that this person is always sick by looking at that person when that person had sickness, because the sickness gets cured, and so you cannot make it a permanent value statement there. But that mistake we do because we confuse the changing with the unchanging, and the attribute of unchanging is superimposed on that which is changing. So this, what I meant, refinement, direction, refinement, that it is this, we have to go then into analysis and generalization. Analysis and generalizations are two ways by which human beings use their intellect to come to conclusions. Analysis means find out what is inside the things. That is analysis. And then on the basis of that analysis, you make certain generalizations. When you find that this is so in this instance, then you make a rule, generalize it, and thus come to a conclusion. For example, you see that there are so many chairs here. So you sit on one and then feel that how it is, okay, comfortable, I can sit. Just try another one in another corner, okay, that is also fine. And then you see that all of them look similar. So that conclusion you generalize, that okay, so all of these are quite comfortable to sit on. And then we see which is the make, who made this, what company made that. Okay, so that means we generalize further. That company then makes good chairs. Let us order. Actually, that is the process that we went through when we ordered these chairs. Anyway, so that is the general process of analysis and generalization that we go to come to conclusion. So that needs to be sharpened. And that one very important thing that interferes and spoils this process, and therefore those who want to be good scientists, they have to avoid that, and that is the interference of personal likes, dislikes and prejudices that can affect it. So one has to keep those things out of the equation. And that is a learning process, friends, because unconscious to us, those things tend to enter. So one has to be very watchful. That is a training that one has to imbibe. That is what I meant there when I said refinement. And then strengthening this faculty of rationally understanding things and implementing it needs strength. Many of us have, friends, a fairly good and refined this sense of discernment. But in almost all cases, we do not have it strong enough to give the right direction to the actual life that we lead. Therefore, even though we understand that this world is unreal, God alone is real, yet our vehicle of our life refuses to turn in the direction of that which is real from unreal. Why? It doesn't have strength enough to overcome the pull of that unreal. It is the pull of unreal is stronger than our strength of the discerning faculty. So it needs to be strengthened. And so and when we strengthen it, we transcend that which is unreal, that which is changing, that which is temporary. We transcend over it. We are able to transcend because of that strength. So this is how the yoga of knowledge, this particular connection, is to be used to get connected. Then we will see the yoga of love or yoga of devotion, bhakti yoga. We have to direct our devotion or love. The direction is to be given how? The love goes on to various changing things, and we do not see what is being loved actually. And so the solution is the love is to be directed towards the source of attractions. Find out what is the source of attraction. It is that famous passage in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Actually, it was being read in our morning class, after prayer, what we read from Swami Vivekananda's works, that was being read, that look, the love is really the love for the self. Only God can be loved, and only God is capable of loving. You cannot love a human being, cannot love another human being as such, because the source is God. That is where we are all one. It is, therefore, if we analyze and see what we love, this example I had given many times, but let us repeat it. That I love my son, my daughter, my spouse, my parents, my community, my country, my religion, my thoughts, my ideas. My is the common thing in it. That is the source of all love, all attraction. When I am put into it, then the things become lovable. Like when sugar is put into something, that thing becomes sweet. Not for that thing as such, but because of the sugar that is put. So that sugar is the source of sweetness in cake, in a cookie, in ice cream, in pudding, in all these things. The source of sweetness is sugar. So also the source of love in everything is this self or God. That as you put that into things, they become lovable. Take out that and you suddenly start hating that thing. You do not love it anymore. It is I that is the source of love. So if you identify the source of love, then that source of love or source of attraction, that is giving it a direction. Then it will move in the right direction. So that is the first thing. Then you have to increase it. When I mean, see, direction, you go and grab a box of cookies, where what was attracting you? Was box attracting you or the cookies were attracting you? It is the attraction of the cookies because of which you were holding the box, not for the attraction of box. So all these names and forms that we see, we get attracted to them, but they're like boxes. They filled with that divine, that is the source of attraction. One beautiful name for God in Hindus is therefore Krishna, Lord Krishna. Krishna means the one who attracts. So that is the source of attraction. So then yearning, when that is to be increased. Yes, remind again and again. Yes, that is what I need. That is what I want. That is the source of attraction. That is going to fulfill me. So, thus the yearning increases, intensity increases, and refinement, that the love for all other things is to be pointed to this one thing, that is refinement. It goes to, because of habit, because of associations for a long time, it goes to the box rather than to the cookies. And then we start licking the box. It is no, and get frustrated. So this box is no good. But it is the wrong thing that we are doing. Refinement is necessary to understand and go to the source of love. And patience is necessary. Through it happens gradually. Then sacrifice. You have to do this sacrifice. Means you have to give up loving these names and forms that come and go. One has to learn that this has to be overcome. It has to be given up. That which is unreal has to be given up for that which is real. So, as a devotee, as a practitioner of bhakti yoga, one has to take up these things so that we will get connected through our love to the goal. Then the third thing is yoga of work, karma yoga. These days, every Friday we are studying karma yoga. This was a topic. Today's topic was what we were discussing last Friday actually. What work, those who want to, give proper direction to this tendency to work, first thing is to be done is getting rid of inertia. I was mentioning this to one gentleman earlier that okay, we work well, once we start we are okay, but starting is a difficult thing. And the starter of our vehicle needs some proper overhauling. So those who want to be karma yogi have to be therefore that shake that inertia up. Always they should be doing something. Inertia is very bad. The last thing that a spiritual aspirant should hold on to is inertia. No inertia. So, and then this practice of giving without expecting. The work is what happens, it is exchange. The work means exchange. When I am interacting, working means I am interacting with something. I am taking and giving, taking and giving. And our focus is on taking, not on giving. The tendency becomes so much that it is always want to take. That nice joke is there, that a very miserly fellow wanted always to take and won't give, fell in a pond and was drowning. Another man jumped in to save him and said to him, as he came close, shouted, "Give me your hand," so that he can pull that man out. "Give me your hand." And the fellow wasn't giving hand. And then the one who knew this miserly man said, "Don't say that. Tell him, take my hand," because he is accustomed only to take, not to give. So, and then that worked, you see. So, our direction, the first thing, change the direction to giving without taking. The gradual course is shown that first at least be ready to give for what you get. Don't try to get things just for free. You learn to give at least for what you get. Then will come the idea of giving without thinking about, without expecting. And then learning this, that I am not the doer, God alone is the doer. I am not doing good to anyone. My desire is okay, I am good to anyone. But who can do good to anybody else? It is God who does. I can be at best the mailman. Nothing more than that. Everybody gets what that person deserves. And thus I am become just the mailman, the carrier, that's all. So one should not expect any credit. That is how the work becomes then a connection to the ultimate reality. And then the last thing, the fourth aspect of this, getting connected, the yoga of psychic control. It is again giving the direction. It should focus on our own controlling the body and controlling the mind. That should be the focus for it. The direction should be that. Instead of trying to control the world and control everything, that is not what is going to help us to realize the truth. So let the focus, the direction be, let me learn to control my mind and body. I can't forget, one lady wrote me an email and said that she was just got married a few months, and then first said my husband is so nice, good and all that, and after a few months writes me this email. Can you tell me how to change the mind of my husband? Oh my goodness, see, what am I to tell that girl? So, it is, I just said that, can you change your mind? If you don't have even that capacity, how are you going to change the mind of somebody else? So, but that is how things happen, we want to change the whole world except ourselves. So, therefore, that the direction is to be changed, and then this refinement. We have to be meticulous and methodical in our approach. This controlling requires that. We mostly are not. We are not very precise. Learning to be precise, learning to be methodical, it is a training. Our minds they do not pay much attention to that. Being meticulous. I'll find that some people are very meticulous in their approach. If they say that I will come at 7:30, you can actually adjust watch. They are really meticulous, so meticulous. Always in whatever they do, you find that they are methodical and meticulous. And that becomes then their second nature. If we want to practice the Raja Yoga, we have to be like that. Otherwise, yes, I get sometimes this, I will be there in 10 minutes. And then I see who is telling this. Depending on that, I decide that when to open the door. I will be there in 10 minutes. If a person A says, then I know before it is 9 minutes, that person should be ready there. And some say that I'll coming in 10 minutes, I know I can sleep half an hour and then be ready for them. So, because the training is not there, to be meticulous, to be precise, to be methodical. This requires a lot of being methodical. So, and then perseverance is necessary. One has to persevere because it is to bring body and mind under control, not haphazardly. Methodically, step by step, we have to work on it for a long time. As the great teacher of this particular yoga, Patanjali, mentions, Satu dirgha kala nairantarya asatkara sevito dridhabhumihi. It has to be practiced for years and years. For a long time, one has to be at it. We take up a discipline today and say tomorrow that nothing is happening. No, nothing will happen like that. So, one has to be at it for a long time, relentlessly, holding on to it with all devotion and that, so that gradually the progress comes. And then strict discipline. One has to have that discipline in life. Especially if we have to practice this yoga, because so many components are acting and interacting. Unless we are disciplined, we will not be able to do much in this. We can notice the difference. When we are disciplined, the progress takes place more easily. If we are not, then whatever little progress we might have achieved also goes down the drain because of indiscipline. So, therefore, strict discipline is especially very much needed for this Raja Yoga. This yoga is very attractive. It has an aura around it. That has. So, because everybody likes to think, I am very methodical, I am very scientific, and I want to control my mind. This is all we want, I want to control mind, okay. But why do we fail? Because we do not have this actually. They don't want to get disciplined. Many young people especially like to say, I want to practice Raj Yoga. Can you teach me pranayama? Very often ask question, teach me pranayama. And well, I am not a fool to go to tell anybody how to do pranayama. There are certain first very important disciplines that one has to learn. Can you be disciplined? Can you make your life, put it into strict discipline? About that discipline should pertain to almost everything you do. Do it exactly without giving, any that concessions and laxity in that, then one can be practicing these things. If not, they will have in fact a very bad, disastrous effect. So, therefore, it is very important in this, especially in this discipline, in this type of connection, Raja Yoga, to be very strictly disciplined. So, all these things, we have to see these four types of connections. And gradually, we should connect all of these. When it is, So, as we get connected, you see, when a crane gets connected to certain things that the crane is lifting, and then when the connection is established, it is connected, then you see it is getting lifted. It is getting lifted. So also we will see our personality getting lifted. It is actually, this is happening. That is, it is not that you get connected and still no progress is happening. That is not possible. It is a certainty that if we get properly connected, we will be on the journey. We will start progressing towards the goal, and we shall start seeing the results in our life. What will be the results by which we can judge it? First thing, that oneness will start having its presence more and more seen in our life in the form of more happiness. We saw that how oneness brings happiness, and all happiness really is contained in that oneness. So our life will start showing more intrinsic happiness. Intrinsic in the sense it is not dependent on circumstances. It is not a reflection of certain situations, but it is the happiness that will be independent of situations. In whatever the situation one may be, still that happiness will be with us. Otherwise, if in election this person wins, I am happy, other person wins, I am sad. Or in the football game, if my team wins, then I am happy, other wins, it is, So it is, that is, if we are, going towards that, my happiness will not depend on situation. Gradually, that happiness will be felt more and more in life. Second thing, the real love also will be felt more and more. That is again an effect of actually coming closer to that oneness. This is how we will go towards that. And then that distance will vanish. Getting united with the goal. We shall discuss that in our next Sunday's class.